Hey, Mati.
GM, brother.
How are you? Your life has taken an interesting turn for the spectacular over the last 48 hours.
Oh,
I
really?
don't, yeah, you're a meme coin extraordinaire now.
I don't.
You're
I don't know
officially
what
a
you're talking
Zoomer.
about. I don't have no idea what you're talking about, man. I don't do meme coins. Just
What's
Doge.
the
Doge is the only true
you
meme coin. All
no,
the
you
others are
launched a
bullshit.
coin. You launched a Q. You launched a token.
I did. I launched the token. We're gonna be releasing a lot more information about the token tomorrow. So I really don't want to. Just want to watch what I say about it right now. And
Yeah.
uh,
Okay.
yeah.
You
So
know,
no, this is just you don't want to give any too
I
many
made a I made
spoilers.
a I made a meme. I want to share it. Like I was gonna share it in the group, but like, there's no utility. I love you. You know that meme? Like, there's no meme. I love you. There's no utility. I love you. I'll pull it up now. Hold on.
No, I've never seen that before.
I'll pull that up. Hold on.
Absolutely not interested in being involved in something that is not delivering value for investors. So that is my sole focus, and everything that I do is to make sure that um, the processes that we create, and we've been very successful in that as well, throughout quantum economics, quantum expeditions, and Quora. It's a huge focus of ours. And so with QE Coin as well, there absolutely will be utility here. Um, Definitely connected very strongly to real world assets, the growth of the Web3, AI, and quantum industries, and will definitely be funneling value back to investors, which is uh, the main goal.
You just
Make
need
the
to
world a better
say
place.
you just need to say ZK, and then you have all the buzzwords in there.
I don't, buzzwords are not interesting to me, honestly. Like, I don't, I don't use them lightly.
But wait, I want to find this meme. There's a meme. Hold on, I'll find it for
You,
you.
you understand that they stripped the bar of alcohol. I don't know what the heck's going on here. All I want is a drink, and the bar is empty.
The bar is empty.
Bar is empty.
That's the problem. It's a bull market. You should be able to stock up on Macallans.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They set up a game room outside. There's 2 pinball machines, an air hockey table, skee ball, and even they got those motorcycle racing games and Tekken and all that sort of stuff right outside the store. They
So
always
is that why the bar's empty? Because everyone's playing games and like drinking.
because there's underage children with alcohol issues that they don't want to give them free access to, so that alcohol will probably be around here somewhere under lock and key, to be honest.
I feel you. This is Thomas in the house. Too early for this man to be drinking as well. We're on the other side of the world. Mati in California. GM to Thomas.
Hey,
Now that Thomas is on, I don't know if I would. I don't know if I don't want to misclassify you as a maxi. You know, if that's your job to do, yes or no. But Mati and I were talking about meme coins before. We are gonna make sure
sure.
to watch our mouth. We're gonna make sure to keep our thoughts and speech pure, because we have Thomas on the show. Thomas is a Bitcoin legend. If you're not following him, you better do so now because this guy's bringing alpha on Bitcoin, just Bitcoin post. For me, I'll tell you the truth. Like, I love Bitcoin, but I just can't seem to, maybe kind of we haven't had Thomas. We've had Thomas on the show before, Matthew, which was Bitcoin was around 50K at the time. It was one of early shows, beginning of 2024, like mid 24, when we were bouncing around before the election. And now we're in a we were all-time high last night, so a bit of a different situation. But I think every time we'll catch up with Thomas in yearly intervals, we'll probably have new all-time highs to talk about. So welcome to the show, Thomas. Thank you for being here. It's great to speak to you again. How have you been since the last time we spoke?
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing well. Obviously, very start to see new all-time highs. I guess I would consider myself a Bitcoin maximalist, but I mean, I'm not precious about it. I really don't mind. Don't care if anyone wants to speculate on anything else. Go for it. Love it. Really doesn't hurt me at all. But yeah, I'm Bitcoin sitting at over 120K. I mean, and honestly, like super stable base right now looks like a great setup. So no, I mean I'm stoked.
Yeah, I mean the max. I think we'll get into the nuances of different maximalists and everything. I've got a lot of questions to ask you because essentially I'm going to ask a lot of selfish things because we want to invest, we want to do the best right by our money. And by the way, I'm also I would consider myself more of a maxi than most. Like I looked at my portfolio the other day and it's 75% Bitcoin and ETFs, Bitcoin ETFs. And that's not 75% of my investment, that's 75% of everything is Bitcoin and ETFs. Then I have maybe 10% altcoins, 10% degen stuff, MicroStrategy and whatever, and some cash or whatever. But
Wait,
75%
when you say ETFs, do you mean Bitcoin ETFs?
Bitcoin ETFs, IBIT and whatever.
Okay, so explain that to me. Why would you how to hold
Why would I have
Bitcoin?
Bitcoin ETF?
Yeah.
Because the because I have a 401k was called in
Okay,
Hebrew.
got it. Say no
Yeah,
more. Yeah, so
say no more.
regulatory
So
reasons.
and now I want to move my pension. I was at a pool party. It was like a crypto pool party in here, and it was just dudes. It was a lot of dudes, but I guess that's crypto for you. And some guys were telling me about that they did the same with their pension. So they put their pension in this one oak was 5x his pension just by gambling on treasuries and all these kind of degenerate plays. But we'll get into that as well. I think Mati, we haven't had you on for a while. I think let's go back to tradition because there's nothing like tradition, and we have a tradition here to kind of go through, do a little bit of a recap, and then after that we'll take it to Thomas as well because Thomas has comes armed with many charts, some of which he cooks and makes in his home kitchen. So we would like, we want to see some of that as well. So Mati, walk us through. Bitcoin all time high, Ethereum not so not quite there yet, close but no cigar. The rest of the market, I caught a nice little pump on useless coin last night. So
Useless. Is that still around? Useless Ethereum token?
it's not a Ethereum token. I don't know what a
Oh.
token it is, but it's been shilled by the bonk guy, and that guy's never wrong. So
Then I apologize. It's chewed bubblegum. Useless Ethereum token came out in like 2017 during the ICO craze. So that was UET. And I'm sure that must have crashed and burned. Are you able to see my screen here?
I am able to see your screen.
Yeah.
All right. So good news is the 200-day moving average has now crossed the Rubicon and holding firmly above 100K. Yesterday, as everybody probably knows, it was watching this show, we saw an all-time high of 124,000. It didn't break through and go to the moon, so we're now back within somewhat familiar territory or this range. I would say very short-term traders are going to be looking at, approximately 112 to 124. So that really hasn't changed much. But what's most interesting is this wider channel, which even here, which is 1 day per candlestick, you can only kind of see a hint of it. But if we zoom out and make it 1 week per candle, there we can really see there's that famous market bottom that I called, not to toot my own horn, but you can actually literally see that I called that as a bottom because I saw that very distinct butt formation. And
wait, do you want to zoom out? Because I zoomed out on the weekly chart. The weekly chart, it looks like it's zoom out, not zoom in. On the weekly chart, like show it on a few years time frame because it looks scary.
Oh, sure.
It really does. That is freaky. That is just logarithms in action.
So
You see,
yeah,
like,
well, if we want to really see this, so for what we'll do is first of all we'll turn it into a line graph, and then we'll get rid of that 200-day moving average so as not to confuse anything, and we can actually see the price. And if you want to look at the logarithmic,
it is on logarithmic. You're on logarithmic.
Right.
It's going from 200
Are you sure?
to yeah. That's definitely a log chart. I was
Okay, you're right.
Yeah, but that's bullish. That's incredibly. People don't understand what logarithms are. Logarithms, right, at the opposite function of an exponentiation. So, if you take a massive number and then you take a smaller number, the logarithms will essentially shorten the distance between numbers quite significantly. So that if you take the log of 10,000 versus the log of 100,000, at a certain point, like you're gonna need bigger and bigger jumps to make a dent on the log chart, because
Right.
as the number goes higher, you're gonna need much more pumps in order to increase on a log chart. That's the normal chart. You just toggle the log
Yeah,
chart off.
I'm toggling it back on and back off while you're talking,
It looks
so people can see.
freaky. Thomas, what comes to your mind when you look at this chart? And also, like, maybe without doxing too much, like, which part in the chart here did you first start getting involved?
Yeah, well, I mean, I suppose what comes to mind when I look at this is that we're not in the curvy part of the chart, right? So and I think someone once told me, and I think it's very true, or at least it has been historically. When Bitcoin curves up on the log chart, that's the kind of stuff that tends to retrace. But when it's just going up sort of straight on the log chart, that's just adoption. That's beautiful adoption. And yeah, so we're going up. We're going up pretty nicely there. So yeah, I mean, look, I probably prefer not to answer that other question just because there's, how much money do you have? I mean, that's what.
No, it's not how much money. It's just no, you don't have to say how much money. Just are you like a
saying
one
a year
cycle,
does not,
two
it
cycle?
doesn't say how much money you have.
I
got in at March 2013. Does that tell you how much money I have?
No, but you see my point. That's why I'm always reticent to say, oh, I got in here or whatever, because that's. Yeah.
No, look, if you say 2013, or if you say 2011, you're
No, I was well after that. I'll say, for me, when I started taking Bitcoin a lot more seriously was in the 2020s is when I it became apparent to me that this is the future world reserve currency. So it wasn't necessarily obviously we all discuss. I think everybody discovers there's always a big gap between the moment you first come across Bitcoin or start investing in Bitcoin versus when it's when is it when does it become apparent to you what Bitcoin is in terms of, hey, this is the global reserve currency of the future? You know, when does it become apparent that Bitcoin is inevitable to you? And that, you know, for some people that's happening right now. Some people.
March 2013, the moment I laid eyes on it, I said, "Hey, everybody, this is the money of the future." It took the rest of the world 10
Your
years
boss
to
gave
fucking
you
figure
some for
that out.
free. Eh? It wasn't conviction. It was just a nice gift.
It was an immediate understanding of the fact that this was needed and that it is such a good thing in the world. The other thing I wanted to say before we jump off the chart, and I think that's very important to note, is that there has not been a retracement significantly larger than 30% in the last 2 years. And, you know, we're used to kind of bull markets in the past where, you know, Bitcoin would retrace itself 70 or 80%, uh, and then continue the bull market, right? Um, and that simply hasn't happened this time around. And I think that lends further to the credit of the theory that the cycles that people keep talking about, and they're just no longer a factor whatsoever. And we've been saying that for a couple of years now, especially since the halving, when it was just apparent that the halving doesn't have any significance um, uh, in the inflation versus daily volumes. And just because that we haven't seen these massive retracements as we normally do, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that this is not your average Bitcoin cycle. Bitcoin, as Thomas said, is becoming the global reserve currency. It's now very apparent to nearly everybody that is happening. It's happening quickly. I'm just speaking with my family for the first time in a year, and everybody's coming up to me with questions about Bitcoin, which they don't usually do. They've you know they're you know I've had, you know, literally ridicule in past years that I'm involved in Bitcoin, and these days everybody wants to talk to me about it and have the questions. And my uncle showed me this one about the quantum, and the quantum question is, quantum computing going to displace, you know, into the old FUD. Like, relax, uncle. Everything's going to be fine. Um, and further to that, we're looking at the tokenization of literally everything. And if you're not bullish on that, and if you want to tell me, oh, well, the cycle's almost done because, you know, in the past, they only lasted 4 years, surrounding the halving or the Federal Reserve printing, you're just missing the broader shift in landscape that's happening right in front of your eyes, which is absolutely
So,
insanely bullish.
Maddie, what does that mean to you when you say the tokenization of everything? Can you expand on that?
Well, you can create a token with a tweet these days. Uh, it's gonna be at the point within the next month where whenever Elon tweets something, there are gonna be 10 coins minted within a minute.
For sure.
Because,
For sure. So,
because it's just so easy to reply to that tweet, make the meme a reality, and tradable. And we're involved in several very interesting projects right now. There are some things that I want to hold closer to my chest, because of the scope and scale of them. But everything that can be traded will be traded as a token in a decentralized wallet, and that is literally happening before our eyes on our screen. I noticed Dudu has Shift. They're putting stocks on the blockchain, but it's much bigger than that as well. Um, so that I hope that kind of touches on it a little bit. But every thought, every idea, every little breeze can be tokenized, and speculated on.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's no question that the meme coin thing is happening, but I'm not sure. Yeah, I guess I'm not sure. I think it's two separate things. You know, the Bitcoin and then sort of trading meme coins. And certainly people can do it, but I don't know whether it's bullish or bearish for Bitcoin. I would say it's almost like unrelated. It's just like, yeah, people do that.
Well, it's absolutely related. It was absolutely related
How?
because of the center of gravity. Bitcoin is the center of gravity of the crypto universe. And so as that center of gravity turns into the center of gravity for the entire world, then it's going to draw crypto along with that, and vice versa. The fact that everything is going to be tokenized will then put Bitcoin in a more prominent light as well. The universe expands, the central star gets bigger, or so. Maybe that's not a great analogy, but I hope it fits in this case.
I think there's a big look. I think tokenization of everything, and to kind of draw this sort of flywheel between Bitcoin and tokenization, whether it's real world assets or memes or whatever. I think it's a little bit tenuous because Bitcoin, I think we three of us can agree that it's sort of inevitable at this point, right? Right now, it's some sort of alternative asset, digital gold type, that people like to put in ETFs or buy for their treasury companies or whatever. In 5 years' time, it could be used in the new, Russia, Saudi Arabia trade agreement. In 20 years' time, it replaces the dollar. So there's some sort of a trajectory that Bitcoin's on. Tokenization, the jury's still out. Even on token, you mentioned tokenized stocks. Like they were launched a few weeks ago. X stocks, Robinhood, lots of buzz, lots of hoopla. But the number one tokenized stock at the moment has a $10 million market cap, which is, I think it's either Tesla or Nvidia. So 10 million to almost trillions of dollars on market cap on the traditional market. It's not even 1 basis point. So you're seeing that, like, there's still, the jury's still out on whether you need yes, tokenization makes sense in certain areas, right? But then you see people, I remember last bull market, there was someone put out a famous tweet that's like, the NFTs have changed the game for jewelry, because even if you lose the ring, if you minted the NFT, you still have the asset, and few people understand that. So you've got
Yeah.
this, like, I think
It's okay to lose your jewelry. You have the NFT in your wallet. You're good. You can just throw it into the lake if you want.
You could just throw, as we get higher in the bull cycle, you're going to see more and more and more of these crazy detached from reality takes, and then we'll crash down to earth, and people will start to pass through what really makes sense and what's just a lot of hype and hot air.
Yeah. So I don't think. I mean, this is just my opinion, but the tokenization of random stuff is not. It's just not very interesting to me. It will trade, it will come and go. It's kind of like, I guess, if you want Reddit, but for speculation, that's a thing. But like, I just find Bitcoin so much more interesting. It's the world's money. Like that's such the economic, political, social consequences of evolving the world's money into this new a monetary revolution that happens once every 100 years that we happen to be a part of. Like, that's a crazy, incredible thing.
It's never happened before.
Well, I mean,
this is not a once in a lifetime. This is a once in the whole world event.
Well, that's not true. So there have been changes. There have been monetary revolutions before. Certainly, we've never had a Bitcoin before, but there's been monetization of assets.
The Knights Templar, I think, was an interesting one where you could bank with different places, and withdraw and deposit money globally. I think that's pretty interesting, but it's not, but it's not the same as the democratization of finance and allowing people to transact globally uh, without the need of a central party. This is something that, yeah, there had been monetary revolution, the invention of paper money, for example, but that's the type of thing that leads to disaster, right? The Knights Templar led to centralization of power, right? Not decentralization. And so the internet itself is unique in that it allows us to communicate in real time, basically squeezing distance and time, so that we can, be so much more productive as a society. And now AI coming in and making us even more productive. But the invention of Bitcoin is absolutely a game changer on so many levels. I don't have to tell you that. But what I mean by the tokenization of everything, and I certainly hear, what Dudu is saying about the stocks, and I don't believe that, and I don't believe that the tokenization of existing stocks at this moment in time is particularly outstanding. I think it's interesting and notable that Robinhood and eToro are trying to do it at the same time, and Larry Fink thinks that it's amazing, but it's a bit more than that. And there are industries where um, tokenization will unlock a lot of value when those industries are tokenized. Um, and you'll see, you'll see it's coming very soon. um, and the benefits of fractionalization, and sound tokenomics, and self custody of your own assets, bring benefits to many industries.
It's
And
interesting.
those are the type of projects that we're focused with on QE at the moment. And we'll be announcing a few of them
So, Maddie, I mean,
coming.
obviously, you've been involved in this space for quite a long time. I'm sure you've been hearing about the tokenization of assets for a long time as well. Would you agree, though, that nothing has really happened in, I don't know, go back 5 years, go back 10 years, whatever. This is the same narrative we've been hearing for the whole time. And Bitcoin has had this massive adoption curve, and we can see Bitcoin is so much closer to being sort of the global reserve currency today than it was a decade ago, unquestionably speaking. But in terms of all the other crypto assets, you might say, where's the impact? What's happened? Why is it relevant? Why should anyone care? And it hasn't. Nothing has happened. It's not clear how it's sort of impacting the world, and that's just my perspective, just as an observer, neutral party observer. Because I've seen it for a while. I just haven't. We did see. I guess there are digital images now. People can own images. That wasn't really true a decade ago. But yeah, we just haven't seen tokenization of the world.
No, I understand what you're saying, but you say that we can see Bitcoin adoption, and we can. I do want to remind the listeners that the rate of transactions on the Bitcoin network hasn't grown in any significant manner. It's been about 2 or 3 transactions per second in the last cycle, and barring some incredible spikes between then and now, it's still between 3 and 4 transactions per second. It's a pretty incredible rate of growth, I suppose, if you think about it. And these type of technologies, they do take time to to see their true effect. I can speak I can speak very openly about Quantum Expeditions and what we're doing there, which is that we're providing a turnkey solution for oil and gas companies. Now, oil and gas companies have a problem that they've always had, which is that when they drill for oil, they get natural gas instead. And because natural gas is abundant, they can't necessarily sell it. And so more than 100 billion cubic feet of gas um, is burned into the atmosphere on an annual basis in Texas alone. And so this is a lot of energy that's going to waste. And not that they mind specifically this profit, oil companies, profit seeking oil companies mind wasting energy. But it constrains them from growth, because if they burn too much, they have quotas that their permits allow them to, and they cannot drill for more oil while they have that gas in their system. And so by coming to them on site and utilizing the gas, we then lower their emissions, lower their gas burning quotas, and they're able to drill for more oil. So not only are we paying them 2-3 times the market rate for gas that they could not sell otherwise, we are literally allowing them to unlock more value. Now, an oil and gas company, if you come to them and knock on their door and say, "Hey, we're going to mine Bitcoin for you," what do you think their reaction's going to be? Like, even in today's day and age, when Trump is in the White House and everybody's like curious about Bitcoin, they're still going to laugh you out the freaking door, right? The way that the world works does not usually change in a single instant. It can in some cases. The AI wave came extremely fast, but I don't think that we're even seeing the pinnacle of that yet, because the technology can progress so much further and get so much more helpful for us. But I think you can take my point that Wall Street isn't going to go, "Oh yeah, tokens. Let's just throw out everything we've done till now, and let's adopt the tokens instead." Right? That's not how it works. It becomes more and more useful, and it starts taking over specific sector by sector. And so I believe that real estate, for example, will be one of the first to be tokenized, because there's a lot of value.
Real estate has been one of the first to be tokenized for the last 7 years, and it just hasn't gone anywhere. Everyone has tried, and no one has succeeded. There's I don't know a single person that holds any type of real estate token in their wallet. So, for me, that's what I'm saying. It's all.
So you don't think that? Wait. So you don't think that real estate is going to be tokenized and traded on the blockchain?
I think that the burden of proof is on whoever. I think that it makes some sort of.
I don't have to prove anything.
In my mind.
I really don't have to. I don't feel like I'm owed. I owe any proof to anybody. I think that if you don't see it, that's fine by me. I'm not here to convince you. I don't care if you believe it or not.
It's not about seeing it or not. It's about it's 7 years. It's been 7 years since
because
I remember
it's particularly difficult when you have regulators that are working against you. But now that regulations have been iconicized, I don't know if that's the right word. We have the MiCA regulations, which have just taken effect. We have Trump in the White House. Gary Gensler is gone. There's no more frivolous attacks on crypto companies. We now have the Genius Act and the Clarity Act that are now laws. How much you want to bet that by this time next year, we're going to see apartment buildings in the United States tokenized?
The question isn't whether they will or not. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But I guess my point is, Matty, do you want to own random apartment building tokens, even if they are tokenized? Assume they are, which is cool. Let's just.
I'd like to see people have the option to buy 5% of their own apartment from their landlord. and then buy 6% and eventually own the entire thing and eventually own the entire building if that's what they desire. I'd love to see that. I think that would be amazing.
I mean,
I want to go. I want to talk about treasury companies because we mentioned that a little bit. Thomas, you've been tracking those treasury companies. Obviously, we're getting a little bit more frothy. It started off with MicroStrategy. We had a lot of copycats around the world in the US, and now we've moved to ETH treasury companies. What's your view on this whole vertical? Is it and do you think it could be a systemic risk to the whole industry during this cycle?
um, no, not really. I don't see a lot of risk. I mean, it could change if they lever up, but right now they're all mostly it's all equity. So there's no real risk that's associated with these companies selling equity to buy Bitcoin. Um, they're extremely unlevered mostly. So no, and frankly also like they're tiny. MicroStrategy obviously is its own beast, but if you look at the combined market caps of all of the other treasury companies, it's a tiny fraction of the market. So I don't see any kind of risk to Bitcoin. I do think they're kind of interesting speculative plays for people that are looking to potentially. Well, look, I mean, if you want to go up the risk curve essentially and try and increase your Bitcoin ownership, these vehicles kind of offer they're kind of like options on Bitcoin in a sense because you get the Bitcoin that they hold in a Bitcoin per share perspective, and then I suppose if they get the inflows that can enable kind of this BTC per share growth, you get the potential for substantial gains, which has happened for obviously MicroStrategy shareholders in the past. And Metaplanet has done extremely well in 2024, particularly, and then sort of the first half of this year. It's been really good for Metaplanet, even if it's kind of gone through a sort of a dip in their, they've had a big sort of compression in their multiple to NAV in the last couple of months, but they've had a great year, unquestionably. So it's kind of it does kind of create an interesting opportunity for people that want to speculate. I actually like it a lot more as a speculative tool than versus say a meme coin because you just have that base level of value. A meme coin go to zero, but Metaplanet, your big risk is there's a NAV compression and it might go to one, right? But so essentially, you can kind of there's a the risk is mitigated to some extent, but also it's got a lot of strong upside potential. Metaplanet or any of these things, but you have to be picking them based on essentially whether they have some kind of like unique factors, probably in a sort of their particular jurisdiction, which is going to enable them access to pools of capital that other people are not going to be able to get. So Metaplanet being in Japan could theoretically access some Japanese investors that wouldn't necessarily invest in Bitcoin any other way. And these kind of things act as ways of pulling in money into Bitcoin through essentially stocks and bonds through the traditional financial system. So they're kind of like black holes within the traditional financial system sucking capital into Bitcoin. They're kind of a bridge to Bitcoin from the traditional financial system. And I think that's really important because Bitcoin is a $2 trillion asset, or a little bit more now that we've had to do the pump, but it's about $2 trillion asset. But you look at there's $300 trillion held in bonds, and pretty similar amount in equity in the market. So there's much more capital sitting in equity and bonds than there is in the rest of the market. So to the extent that these vehicles can act as a sort of a bridge to Bitcoin, I think that's what's exciting. I don't see any risk. I mean, there might be a risk to Bitcoin fast forward 10 years when they're much bigger, but right now, no, not really.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's, MSTR are doing a lot of financial engineering. I think that a lot of the other treasuries, they're just kind of plain vanilla, maybe issuing some shares. But what do you make of, the fact that, and Matty, also feel free to chime in, but what do you make of the fact that we have Ethereum treasuries now, we have SharpLink, we have Bitmine, BMNR, and I could really easily see Solana treasuries coming next, and then how far does down Mati Quantum Expeditions will do a reverse merger to start a Dogecoin treasury or something like that. So how far down the risk curve are we gonna get with these treasuries?
Yeah, no, that there's zero chance of that happening. Go ahead, Thomas.
Yeah, I mean, it's a function of if there's demand for that capital. And, like, there's clearly enough people out there that think Ethereum is a real asset worth holding and investing in. So you can find these institutional investors, but also retail that are wanting to buy it. But if you put up a create a treasury built on the foundation of some dog shit meme coin, it's not going to work. So yeah, Ethereum, it's certainly been like a spectacular success for Ethereum in terms of just moving the market cap since they launched. Yeah, which
Dude, I think that Thomas is probably the most hardcore maxi we've had on this show, to be honest. I think you deserve a prize for that.
Alon's pretty hardcore as well. We've had a few maxis, but Thomas is not toxic. I think I love talking to maxis because they keep me honest, and they like Alon. Alon is we start a community here. I don't know if you've met him, Thomas. If you haven't, you should. He's always at the Bitcoin events around the world. He's pretty maxi, but like when I speak with him, like you have to really refine and think about what you're saying, because as I mentioned, like I'm pretty heavily invested in Bitcoin, but my time is spent elsewhere. I mean, I'm in the Bitcoin. I tweet a lot about Bitcoin ecosystem. I'm running spaces for Bitcoin. I'm involved, but like it's more from like the altcoin, yap farming side of the game, and less like pure Bitcoin. So when you're in the altcoin ecosystem, when you're working like Mati and I, like you're seeing a lot of different projects. You got to keep honest, because otherwise you can when I first came into the space, I was super naive, and I bought everything that the narrative merchants in the in the ivory towers was selling me to pump their coin. Now I've become that narrative merchant, but even the narratives that I try to put out there, or for writing for a client or ghostwriting, like I try to take a step back and am I just spewing out hot air into the void, or can I really stand behind what I'm saying on an intellectual level? So that's what happens when you talk to maxis, because they'll run you through it. They're like, does it really make sense? Is there really a point for? Do you need a blockchain for this? Like that's the maxis will ask. Like, do you need a blockchain for this? Do you need a token for this? And honestly, you don't. 99% of time, you don't need a token for this, right? You could use a different token. And I kind of went through a few evolutions. When I first came into crypto, I was very much like, tokens are super necessary for crypto economic incentive coordination, right? Essentially we have a new game here that can use cryptography and game theory to design systems that use the greed in a positive way. So you'll never have exploitation and extraction ever again like you have on Wall Street. And boy, how wrong was I, right? It took me a few rugs to understand that just because you have a decentralized design, cryptography, crypto economic, does not mean you won't get rugged on your face. Does not mean that people won't extract. And then I became quite a hardcore maxi for like a year or two. And now I understand that tokens are serve a purpose of getting people paid, right? Whether it's the community, whether it's the founding team, whether it's investors, Tokens are an exit strategy, right, for making money. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's where I'm at
You've
now.
gone to
There's
the other opposite end of the extreme there, Dudu.
No, it's not an extreme. I think most tokens have zero like necessity. Can you create a token and then retrofit utility to kind of make it make sense? Maybe, but does that make it necessary? Does that make it that like the world can't exist without this token? No. Most blockchain projects, whether they're AI, whether they're whatever, they could use Ethereum or Bitcoin or stables for payment or coordination, but they want to create their own token because then they can keep 10% of the supply. They can give 10% of the supply to their cousin. They can give another 10% of the supply to their grandma, who's now the foundation. And then everyone makes a nice bag.
Yeah. So I really want to appreciate how much the industry itself has grown, and you kind of highlighted very accurately how people's opinions and understanding of things morph over time. And my assessment in when the ICO boom came out, and I said Blocks Live TV, I don't know if you remember those guys, on one of their first ever shows, even before they built their studio, I told them, look, this 95% of these tokens are going to fail because essentially tokens are startups, right? And most startups fail, and that's just reality that people need to deal with. So just because there's a token and just because people are speculating on it and it's going up doesn't mean it's going to continue to go up sustainably. And what I came to realize even later that cycle was the difference between a utility token and a money token and a security token. Three very distinct categories. Now we have meme token, which is just like the bastard retarded cousin that doesn't do anything or have any ability to grow beyond itself. It's just there for a laugh. Not to offend any retarded people. That's not what I meant at all. But the point is that if you want to understand what the value of a token is, and for me, the whole idea of tokenization, not the idea of tokenization, but the idea of ICOs, the idea that tokens can be used to fund a startup, it's a beautiful method for capital formation, the democratization of capital formation, in where the way that startups used to work is they'd have to go to VCs to get their initial funding. They had to go to a centralized party. There was no other way to do it. And once the ICO boom came out, anybody could suddenly make a startup, and that startup would be able to raise capital from the public and use it to build something interesting, nice, or neat, or useful. And that to me is in and of itself is a beautiful thing. But the inherent problem with that is that the people's minds were just not ready at that time to evaluate what is a good startup, what's a bad startup, and how the specific modeling and crafting of the token and how it works within the ecosystem, whether or not that is something that's designed to accrue value over time. To me, the most important element of any successful token is that there be a proper value loop, that the startup has a way of extracting value from the token without harming investors, and then obviously they need to responsibly use that money that they've extracted to build something of value and to grow the value over time. And then they need to be able to feed the value back to investors. So that's basically a full circle, right? Extract the value from investors and then feed the value back to investors once you've grown it into, something beautiful. So once the tree is grown, you now are able to eat the fruits. You're able to take a seed from somebody, and then now pay them back with fruits, which is it's quite an amazing thing if it's done properly. Um, and as
Yeah,
we
now
go,
you're just explaining capitalism. Our problem is that token aren't capitalism. A lot of times the token, there's no seed. You're not giving someone. You're not taking a seed. You're taking a seed from someone, and instead of giving them like a share in the flower, you're telling them there's a magical thing called utility that you have access to. You don't have any.
right? Because
I
most
think it will.
founders are out there selling magic beans.
No, I think now that the regulation has changed, you will see sort of a move toward more substantial tokens with revenue share, with real ownership, with real ownership rights. But utility
Especially
tokens are
with the
not.
grand shift in regulation, you're not gonna it's gonna make your head spin how fast this is coming, because all of the models and all of the tokenomics and all of the technology is now ready. It's all been battle tested, and now that the technology has caught up, it's gonna happen in an instant. You're gonna see a mushroom cloud of tokenization, of real world assets, of everything that has a price. Your car is gonna be tokenized. It's gonna go that quickly.
So,
I
Manny,
believe.
I guess the thing is just like, why would you want to invest in a token of a car? And I'm not saying it's not going to be created. Someone might create the token. Why the fuck would I own that? Why would I do that? Nobody like no. It would be uh, a really bad place to put your capital. Like, oh, you are yeah, you've got a piece of this car represented on a blockchain.
Yeah.
Okay.
What if it's a taxi? So it's a revenue generating car.
Well, I guess my perspective is, and yeah,
Or
I mean,
what if it's a ride share that you can't afford a full car by yourself, or you want to have a nicer car, and we've come up with I don't know. I'm just um, throwing that out there. The model can be created, and I'm sure somebody's working on it at the moment. Whether or not it's successful is going to be to their go-to market strategy, the competence of their leadership, and the market's receptiveness at that time.
sure.
Just like every other major startup. And you're right, Dudu. A lot of these things can be done without tokens. Quantum Expeditions has raised all of the money so far, $1.2 million from 734 investors, without the use of any NFT or token. We used purely traditional rails. We used a crowd fund, under under the SEC's, under Gary Gensler's nose. There's nothing he could do about it because we used their own rules to raise that money. And so yes, it can be done uh, using those rails, but it's just so much easier to do it with a token. It's just so much freer, and it's just so much faster, and it's more fair as well to everybody. And there's less value extraction at the top. There's no centralized parties that are that are taking inherently. If somebody's a good coder or developer, they can absolutely uh, build one of these platforms out the back, or right, in with on their laptop, and go to market all by themselves, a one man show, especially with what we're seeing as far as AI and vibe coding. You don't have to code things from scratch anymore, and so if now anybody has access to do that, like the way that Facebook, I'm sure you've seen like the social network movie, right? And how he had all of these developers working with him. Um, that'll be like completely doable with one person or two-person team. Um, Same with Uber or Airbnb. Um, it's it. I think it's absolutely amazing, and we're headed to a very beautiful place, that'll essentially bring us to full automation, full abundance of resources, Star Trek economy where we don't actually need money anymore. Eventually,
Amen for that. Thomas, thank you for your time today. We had a great time chatting. Mati, Thank you as well. And I know it's late by you, and you probably want to go take a brief cat nap before waking up for the Asia market open. But I want to kind of just sign off with Thomas. Like, we spoke a bit about you, what you're doing, what you're up to. Like, what are your focuses for the next 12 months in Bitcoin? Like, about where you see the market and like what kind of role you want to play in that journey.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm just an observer like everybody else, but I do. I think it's a really great setup right now, as it has been for a couple of years. But we're just sort of honestly seeing this unlock of institutional capital into Bitcoin. I mean, we had just a couple of weeks ago, we had the Harvard Endowment Fund put $100 million into Bitcoin. I mean, it's nothing to them. It's 0.2% of their fund, but this is one fund putting 0.2% in. Look at the actual scale of potential capital that's flowing in. All of these different endowment funds, institutional investors, and yeah, I mean, I just think that we're going to witness a period of time in which we have hundreds of billions of dollars flowing into Bitcoin. And the price is going to rise proportionally. Well, not and the market cap doesn't rise by the dollar amount that goes in. There's a multiple attached to that. So you see, so I don't know where Bitcoin's going to go over the next in terms of the price. I don't think anybody does, but I think it's a like extremely bullish setup, and I'm very excited to watch it happen.
Epic. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Mati. Gentlemen, have a wonderful day. We'll see
Thanks
you
a lot for coming on, man.
next week
Yeah,
for another
appreciate it.
all-time high. Actually, no. Next week we're on break. I'm taking it easy. I'm touching some grass, maybe smoking some too. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you soon.
Catch us for that.